welcome back to the layout, everyone. It has been quite a few months since I last gave you an update, and I figured it was about time. In the time that has passed, I managed to get a layout set up that allowed Thomas and Edward to run simultaneously, by utilizing switches between a larger outer track and a smaller inner track. It took some timing to get used to it, but eventually it ran like butter. But I wasn't quite satisfied with that setup, so I got another controller. And I made this layout, with two separate tracks, one where Thomas runs along the inside as a smaller branch line of sorts, and one on the outside for larger engines. Edward has a little bit of trouble when it comes to the points, but it's alright. Sometimes it was just the track being dirty, and eventually I got a track scrubber to clean it all up. I also picked up this coaling bunker because I decided that I needed something to decorate the layout with a little more. Aside from that, I managed to pick up another engine in a desire to fill out my layouts roster. You might recognize him as Toby. Now, the Toby I have, his motor seems to whine a little bit, as he doesn't have the side rods that the others do. I also got Henrietta to go with him, because you can't have one without the other. I then realized that I was going to need more space if I was going to have multiple trains. So, I planned on building a little bridge down and building a dock. The full process took me about 8 minutes to fully accomplish, but I went ahead and sped it up in post. Once that was done, I decided I needed to test it, so I used Henrietta as it was the easiest one to use, as well as get some testing time to make sure she ran smoothly. However, I wasn't quite satisfied with the curve that led down to falling off the table. So, thankfully my sister got me some straight track, so I used that to extend it out in a single line like a pier at a dock. I decided to give it one final test to see if I liked it, but I really didn't, so I decided that we would go ahead with the new plan. And here you can see me attaching the straight track, which would become my harbor, or at the very least, a siding. Then it was time to test out the weight capacity, so I grabbed Edward in the trucks, because he's my freight engine that I have for my layout, and I had him running back and forth. And for now, I had him use this little box as a shed of sorts. And with that, I decided it was time to get some footage of Toby and Edward running on the layout. While I enjoy the idea of a harbor, it was taking up too much space. So I ended up taking it down and moving the tracks over onto the main layout as a third option. It'll allow bigger engines to run along parallel, and I'll power it here. But as of now, this is where the layout sits, and it probably won't get updated till the end of the year. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you then.